I want to take y'all on a journey of my personal misery. Recently, I randomly discovered a game I never heard about. It looked cool from the 2 screenshots I saw, and it had a rad name. You Are Empty. It turns out it wasn't rad at all. It was pain. And it's a pain I want you to witness. Greetings, YouTube. I'm Evening. I tend to talk about games you probably never heard about. Today, I want to introduce you to a 2006 game called You Are Empty. It was developed by a couple of Ukrainian studios, Digital Spray Studios and Mandel Art Planes. You probably don't know them, as only Digital Spray Studios went on to make another game, which was also a bit of a pooper. All you really need to know before we jump in, it's that it's a game that made me feel both mental and physical pain. Of course, the gamer that I am, I choose the hard difficulty. I believe this was my second mistake. The other one, of course, being me deciding to play this game in the first place. Undoubtedly, the best thing about You Are Empty are the cutscenes. They are fantastic. So, have a look at the best the game has to offer.
Внимание! Говорит Москва! Говорит Москва!
Она скучать не дает никогда. И любит песни большие города. На песне злой и жизнь помогает. Она как друг и зовет ее.
Сельская деятельность.
Это учение живет и развивается.
Наступил исторический день.
After getting treated like a Soviet isekai protagonist, we wake up in a hospital. And of course, the first thing that greets us is a propaganda poster. I dig the vibes. In the cabinet, we find a bottle of orange substance, our healing item for the game. The only real healing item. There's also a glass of water you can find sometimes, but there are like 3 of those in the whole game, so I don't really want to count them. It restores 25 points of health, I think. That's what I believe from what I've seen, but I swear, sometimes I feel like it restores less or more, but I just can't prove it. And also, the most fun feature of the healing bottle is that it can break if you damage it, so you can lose your only way of healing. Before we continue, I must warn you that playing this game inflicted me not only with the aforementioned mental damage, but also physical. The way the sound works in the game, and also the camera, for some reason the whole game has this weird jitter or stutter while moving the camera. That's kinda hard to capture. It was so small that it was barely noticeable, but it was suddenly there, and playing more than 20 minutes at a time gave me a headache. So just a warning, if watching the video is starting to hurt your head, please take a rest. Editing the footage didn't make me feel woozy, but your experience may vary. Now, back to the good part of the game now. The first level of the game, I truly believe, is the best in the game. It has so much atmosphere. Honestly, as I went into the game blind, I thought this might be a horror game judging by the first 5 minutes. The sound, the tension, brilliant. Here's our first enemy, the mental patient. The description, according to the manual, which I'll be using to give information on the enemies, is quite chilling. The experiment finally locked patients of mental asylums in a trap produced by their own brain. The fears and phantoms they devised then became real as never before. But if in the past they used to escape from them, now as their moral and physical strength grows, they try to destroy them. The description speaks of some sort of experiment. We will learn about this later, but don't get your hopes up. It's not that particularly interesting. Down the stairs, we can see another patient patiently waiting for us to arrive. We sneak past him and end up in the bathroom. We get our first weapon, the wrench. So far, the vibes feel very kinda Bioshocky. And of course, everything crumbles the moment we get attacked by a curvy lady. Meet the nurse. Aside from looking after patients, she used to spend much time caring for her own beauty. But during the experiment, cosmetic substances entered into a chemical reaction with her skin. This explains her new and quite unattractive appearance. I wouldn't say that she's that attractive, but she's a harbinger of things to come, specifically the combat. The melee combat already illustrates one of the biggest problems of the game: bad hitboxes. Enemies like to hit you when you shouldn't, and you tend to just not hit the bodies of enemies, which turns into a big frustration moment. When we meet the nurse again, she throws a bottle at us. As we try to dodge, another problem becomes very glaring. It's almost impossible to dodge because of our speed. We are so slow. The player moves so slow multiple times. During my playthrough, I had to check the settings to make sure that I didn't skip over a sprint button. You move so slow, I started gaslighting myself that surely the problem must be me. No developer would ever design a game where you move so slow, surely. But alas, I never found the sprint button. Since combat sucks, I had to use the only power I have in my arsenal: abusing physics. Sadly, it didn't really pan out as I hoped. The first gun we get is the good old Mauser, which is a very weird choice for a game set in Soviet Russia. I understand it's a popular pistol that fits the times, but why pick the most German pistol ever? I do have a theory, but it will have to wait a little bit. In the meantime, pay attention to the reload. Do you see it? After the model stops, there are still a noticeable amount of frames where the gun is still empty. It takes a good moment before the game confirms that, yes, you have indeed reloaded. God, I hate this. Why? Why couldn't it reload as the gun stops the animation? Why must you do this, developers? Why? The next enemy we get ambushed by is the yellow vest wearing road worker, who I don't know why is in the hospital really. Kinda ruins the vibes. A typical worker who became much stronger and smarter after the experiment. He is ready to work non-stop, never needing a break, and he wields a heavy pickaxe. Anyone who gets into the road worker's field of vision is seen by him as an annoying obstacle to his work. Such an obstacle must, he thinks, be removed immediately. I don't know about the smarter parts, but it's clear that the experiment has turned this human into an organic machine with only one task on his mind: work on the road. A man falls out of the sky, and we meet the worst enemy in the game, the fireman. This firefighter knows well that every human is a potential arsonist. These are firemen who lost their mind as a result of the experiment, and instead of extinguishing fire, they now try to remove its cause. I respect their paranoid point of view. What I don't really respect, however, is their horrible hitbox, on their lunge attack specifically. Here's only a couple examples. From analyzing the footage, I believe that for some reason, a hit is counted when the axe is in this highest position, rather than as it goes down and would theoretically hit the player, which means it's so frustrating to fight this enemy. Around this point in the game, I also came to a shocking conclusion. I don't know why, but for some reason, the way the audio works, your own steps sound like someone is walking behind you. It's so annoying. Then on the ground, we see a new enemy. This is a collector of internals. It is not known what lies behind the big mask this man wears, nor can we tell for sure whether they are humans. Enigmatic characters who have appeared in the city and its surroundings after the experiment. They pursue goals which only they seem to understand. They're not interested in the city dwellers, but they will immediately attack any normal person who catches their eye. These bastards are also the main enemy that carries the Mauser. Here's my theory. The reason they are using a German gun in a game set in the Soviet Russia is that these secretive fellas are not Russian. They are foreigners that came to Russia after the experiment to gather intel. That's my personal headcanon. That makes a lot of sense, I think. We grab the car key and leave the hospital, with it finishing the first level. Sadly, the second level starts off with a disappointment. The first enemy we get greeted by is the mental patient. Personally, I kinda don't expect mental patients in my call cause, but okay. No need to get too sad, as quite soon we get greeted by a new face, carrying a new weapon for us. The old man is the Watchman. The Watchman's appearance has been naturally unaffected by the Great Transformation, but his mind was impaired. Now he guards things that seem very important to him, but are not needed by anyone else. Like all Watchmen, he is very suspicious. Any stranger is seen as a robber. The weapon we get from him is the double-barrel shotgun, a classic. We instantly get to use it on the attacking dogs. They are, of course, called Pavlov's dogs. After a series of daring experiments by Professor Pavlov, dogs became a permanent object of all potential experiments. Scientists experimented on changing physiology, investigated transplant opportunities, and tried to gain control over instinct. We find an interesting note that the Watchman was guarding. Something has been wrong with our hands the last few days. We're gaining weight too quickly. We're growing more and more by the day. Maybe something has been added to their feet. Right after, we are greeted by one more new enemy, the peasant. They go down very fast, and the manual says only this. Exhausted by the hard agricultural labor, the peasant became very much like a zombie. She senselessly continues her work, trying to mow down with her sharp sickle everything that stands in her way. As we drop down, we see the aforementioned hens. Lenin Komsomol hens. The experiment made the dream of a giant broiler chicken come true. However, apart from gaining weight, these hens unpredictably grew in size. A formerly harmless bird became a violent predator that does not mind having a little meat if the chance comes along. The chicken is such a predator that I, of course, die. In the next area, we meet a certain individual. His name is Kulibin. Apparently, he is an inventor. He's quite an interesting fellow. Have a listen yourself to the one and only interaction we have with him.
You gave them real hell. The trouble came from the city, yes. I'm telling you, the reason is there. It is they who are to blame, damned wise men. They would surely say what we must do now, the city council, yeah. And what the hell is this? Where? Here you go. Here is the key. There's a door in the yard. Use it, go through the basements and the sewer and you'll reach the elevator. There will be a train. That's your only way of getting to the city. Help! You can make it, hurry up! Ah! Ah!
I have no words. He is truly special. As we descend down some pipes, we meet rats. Big rats. They do big damage. As we fall down into a grain transporting train, the second level is complete. Finally, the city. The new level starts with a bit of a rapid introduction of some new enemies. We kill a couple of workers. The tireless worker is capable of wielding a heavy hammer night and day. His work never stops, not even for a second. Person who by chance appears in his area is seen as an annoying hindrance. He can be removed by a couple of precise blows. A steelmaker. The experiment had a most favorable influence on the worker of a steelworks. His skeleton got stronger, his bone tissue became more solid, and his muscular strength increased enormously. Propaganda bred vigilance and suspicion in him. And a builder. The builder knows how to perform just one job. That is, to spike dowels with a pneumatic hammer. As a result of the experiment, he's become totally focused on this process. Any object that comes to his attention must be immediately fixed with a red-hot nail. He also drops what could arguably be called the best weapon in the game, the nail gun. It's powerful, accurate, and shoots as fast as you can spam left-click. Afterwards, of course, a welder lands in front of us and gets promptly dispatched by the power of 4 shotgun shells. And yes, you didn't imagine that. He flew in on a little propeller. To make the work of a swinger assembler easier, an outfit equipped with a folded propeller has been developed. After the experiment, something went wrong in the way the outfit operates. That's why assemblers who have gone mad prefer not to fly, but to skydive. However, this makes them even more dangerous. His design personally reminds me of Carlson on the Roof. You might think, weird reference, why would a Swedish book be referenced in a game set in Soviet Russia? Well, you see, an adaptation of the book, specifically the two animated movies from 1968 and 1970, are some of the most popular and celebrated Soviet media ever created. If you have never seen them, do yourself a favor and watch the films. They are lovely. At some point I picked up Molotovs. Here's my one time using them, killing myself, and subsequently never pulling them out again. As I traverse a balcony, from the opposite roof I get ambushed by the enemy with longest range in the game, the Red Army Man. He also wields a Mosin Nagant rifle, which we will be able to pick up in a moment. Here's what it says about the Army Man. The struggle to increase Soviet power, provocations on the side of invader countries, and the constant necessity to be alert contributed to a fantastic increase in the fighting efficiency of the Red Army. To prevent any threatened future, the decision was made to conserve the most distinguished fighters of the present. Elite units of the Red Army underwent deep freezing in the underground cells. The experiment caused reactivation of the depositories. As you look at the footage of me, somehow completely missing, I want to talk about a theory I had while playing the game. At around a third of the way in, I developed this idea, which I know, logically, is just not likely to be true. But because of how the game feels, I have no other explanation. It truly feels like the game uses a Morrowind-like hit registering system. I swear, every time I shoot, it feels like a dice is rolled whether or not my bullets will miss. It has to be. There's no other way to explain how inconsistent the game is. Sometimes it takes one shot. Sometimes the same enemy eats 10 bullets. I'm probably once again gaslighting myself. But with the way the game feels, this feels like the only conclusion I can come up with. Look at this. We have a builder that is shooting at us from inside a bus, having so much protection, making it a challenge to hit him, while he, of course, has no problem nailing me. This is gonna happen multiple times going forward. In the next alley, we pick up the legendary PPSH, a weapon without which no Soviet game is ever complete. In this case, it's dropped by an NKVD officer. You might think, oh nice, humans. Well, not really. Here's what the manual says. Under the guidance of Special Department 14 of the NKVD, a program for creating the ideal soldier was developed and introduced. Boys were specifically selected and brought up in a special environment. They were taught never to trust their feelings and to suppress their emotions. Biological corrections contributed to enhancing the reflexes and seriously increased the resistance to their bodies. Fighters of Department 14 are not people, but human machines. They are merciless robots fulfilling orders like sheep. You'd think, with how classic of a gun it is, PPSH would be the cream of the crop in the game. Well, it can be good. Sometimes. Let me explain. Whenever you shoot a gun, you get some screen shake to imitate the recoil and kick of the gun. All dandy, nothing weird. When you get shot, you also get a screen shake to show that you got hit with a bullet. Also, all normal. The problem comes with the fact that these effects stack. So, if you're using a high-powered weapon like, I don't know, the PPSH, that shakes your screen a lot, while getting hit by another enemy who, let's say for example, also wields a PPSH, your screen becomes a mess of shakes that is barely recognizable. As such, PPSH works great against melee enemies, but not something I'd like to use against long-range enemies. And NKVD officers are also very interesting enemies, as against them, the shotgun is pretty much useless for some reason. Just have a look. In the next room, we get gassed as we look at a poster of Stalin. Another cutscene awaits us. We get woken up by an NKVD officer that weirdly doesn't try to put a bullet inside our heads. They, very nicely I might add, with their feet, show us the way to go. We meet the General Secretary.
Who? Who are you? Ah, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters anymore. The entire world has collapsed. And we have collapsed together with it. If you have managed to survive and fight your way here, you may also reach here. This will help you. Don't ask me why. Watch the film. It contains everything. Watch. There is a cinema nearby. You will be able to watch the film there. Go there quickly. You don't have much time. Not much time. All is not lost yet.
Here's a fun detail. After he blows his brains out, if you decide to go and take his weapon, an officer appears and guns you down, mistaking you for a murderer. But if you walk away, nobody gets in your way. Welcome to the obligatory "I have lost all my equipment" segment of an FPS game. We pick up a wrench, with which we assassinate an officer and take his PPSH. Right, exactly the weapon I want to use to fight other NKVD officers. After some monotonous fighting, we reach the cinema.
Comrades, we proudly announce that the tenacious work of Soviet scientists has finally bore fruit. The aim of modeling an artificial human essence has finally been attained. With the help of this facility, we will be able to make directional, psychological, and physiological corrections.
For reasons of secrecy, it was decided to establish the object outside the city limits. The larger part of the object is underground, which provides additional protection and secrecy.
Even though our movie gets interrupted, we once again see that building with a giant star on top of it. That is now our goal. You now get to fight a big boy, the athlete. Don't let his size intimidate you. He might be the easiest enemy around. I think I only got hit once by him in the whole game. As we attack slow enough, just moving backwards is enough to dodge every attack. Their entry says, "Before the experiment, the weightlifter was interested in bodybuilding alone. The great transformation has liberated him from all concerns, turning him into a bundle of muscle. Now the athlete longs to test his newly gained strength on any object more or less suitable for the purpose." We do have a very cute face that kinda reminds me of a baby. Here's a fun little situation I got myself into. Me jumping to get a better angle ended up with me getting soft locked. Fun. Worst part is, after reloading the save, I couldn't hit a shot to save my life. Just kind of made me feel very pathetic, I guess. Here we see another new enemy that I managed to kill while he was stuck. Say hello to Waste Devourer. This strange creature once used to be a common worker of a chemical factory. During the experiment, dangerous toxins he constantly had to handle entered into a specific reaction with his body. This completely changed his physiology and metabolism. Now this enemy is made of almost nothing else but acid. He spits out a caustic mixture that paralyzes the victim. Later he slowly digests it. I know he seems harmless because I just cheesed him, but they can output some serious damage, especially with their spit attacks. I just want you to have a look at how fast my health bar melts. And of course, it wouldn't be an early 2000s FPS if I couldn't kill an enemy that's trapped inside the geometry of a level. Beautiful. At this point in my journey, I was feeling mentally unwell. If it's not clear, I think me just staring at the poster of a man smiling says it all. I looked at it with longing. Why can't I be like that? I cried out, but sadly, I had to move on. I had to continue. As we successfully get on a train, another cutscene greets us. Here's a chance to try and stealth kill an enemy. The problem is, I decided to use a shotgun, so I failed. On the other hand, a rifle works wonders. And now we see some NKVD officers fighting the final new enemy of the game, the electrician. We easily finish him off, and his manual says, bound to his duty, the electrician constantly had to unwind, untangle, stretch out, and bend a host of long, unruly wires. The experiment turned this person into a kind of spider, a crafty, flexible, and agile one. He takes wires that stretch out in all directions for his own web, and he tries to paralyze every victim caught in this web by a powerful electric discharge. Next to him we find a weapon, an electricity weapon. Sadly, it sucks. Here we see a representation of how smart the AI is, as one simple jump completely bamboozled these fellas. The next big level is the opera. Here, I hit the point where I'm low on every type of ammo. A bullet that goes through walls hits me and scares me. I get hit with the classic fireman hitbox, and then I finish myself off with a splash damage from the electric gun. Wonderful. In the locked room, we hear a voice begging us to let him out.
Help me open the door, please. I got here through the door, and that's the only way out of the building.
Of course, the good Samaritan that we are, we help, not before witnessing another fight where the shotgun does as much damage as a wet blanket. We open the door and see
Thank you. Thank
a very well endowed
I
man.
guess so. Be careful. They are everywhere. I must go now. Oh, goodbye.
Sadly, he's not meant for this world and gets brutally executed. You will be missed, Mr. Bulge. We leave the opera house through the rooftops, where we stumble upon our final weapon, a rifle with a scope. It, of course, comes with its problems. When you scope in, the weapon model doesn't disappear fast enough, so you get the fun experience of both looking through the scope and looking at the scope. Exactly what I wanted. I assume here, the Red Army soldiers were supposed to just march on without caring about me, just doing their thing. For some reason, their heads didn't get the memo, so they just awkwardly observe me as we walk away. Since we have seen every enemy the game has to offer, I can say that I really like the vision it was going for. It's quite clear, since all the enemies are some sort of workers, with some exceptions. The interpretation I come up with is that the experiment removes any autonomy, any humanity from the people, leaving them nothing but organic machines meant for nothing but work. Bundling that with the cutscenes prominently featuring Stalin, the game attempts to be a critique of the way Stalin's Soviet Union ran. It shines a spotlight on the end goal being the dehumanizing of the working class. The problem comes that, once again, it's not a good game, so the message kinda gets lost in between the frustration. It also doesn't feel like the same type of intentional misery that comes from games like Pathologic. Here the player's pain feels unintentional. Why else would you ever design a pistol that has a reload time that is just a couple frames too long? You Are Empty isn't a game that is bad because of one big problem. It suffers the death of 1,000 cuts, where if at least one problem wasn't there, the experience would instantly feel better. Before we move on to the last level, let's do a little review of the problems in a nice tier list. First, we have the movement speed. This is an instant S here on how bad it is. Moving like a snail is the worst part of the game. Next up, we have bad enemy hitboxes, specifically firemen. This is a B, as yes, it sucks when it happens, but it's consistent in how bad it is, so it becomes something you are aware of. Yes, getting hit sucks every time, but you can at least try and play around it. Voice acting goes into F. It's bad, yes, but it's not something that really affects the experience that much, as I've played games with horrible voice acting, but it never stopped me from loving a game. Now, this is a personal one. Mauser. The Mauser reload being too long is something I personally hate so much, it goes straight into S tier. For anyone else, this would probably be F, but I despise this. Next up, we have a bit of a balancing problem. Once you have a varied enough arsenal, melee enemies become just fodder that you can instantly take care of from a distance, and you only get hit if it's a hitbox problem, or the movement speed leads you to getting stuck. So they become a nothing enemy, while enemies with guns are the priority, specifically because of how much damage their bullets do. This is also where the movement speed problem comes back, as it's almost impossible to run away from the bullets as you move so slow. This goes into C. It's not the worst thing, but would be cool if it was better. On the topic of enemies, they get very samey. The first level's enemies feel very appropriate. Patients and nurses, well, for the most part, we can ignore the road worker and the fireman, with some weird masked man to build intrigue and mystery. I love it. Then the second level has some greatness in the introduction of a watchman, the hens, and the peasants. They all feel appropriate. But then also we get the return of the patients, and then afterwards any sort of making enemies level based disappears. We just get everything thrown at us without any thought. with the peasants just being fully forgotten and never seen past level 2. I wish the enemies felt more appropriate for the levels, so that way, the levels would have more identity. B. Next up is a technical problem. The weird microstars that are barely noticeable, but enough of a problem to cause headaches. Not sure why they were there. As I tried to fix them, I couldn't. All I know is that I could finish the game with breaks, but it was a big pain. A. Then we have the problem of your footsteps being a little too far behind you, making you think someone is sneaking up on you. Straight A. I hate it. It makes you train yourself into ignoring sound behind you, which can lead to you not realizing there actually is an enemy behind you, and also it just kind of feels uncomfortable. Now we have my conspiracy theory on the accuracy of weapons. I say this is an S tier, because not knowing if my weapon is going to one-shot an enemy or take 2 magazines is so infuriating. It was a big enough problem to make me think of conspiracy theories to explain it. So yeah, annoying problem. Lastly, we have the screen shake. C. It's an annoyance, but it's kinda solved by not aiming down the sights, and just because you're only in a PPSH versus PPSH fight quite rarely. As we walk on some electrical wires, let's watch the cutscene before the final level. Before us stands the Great Tower. Once again, it really gives me Bioshock vibes. Of course, our first enemy is the level itself, as I get crushed by the door railway combo. Next, we have a nice little ride in the facility that made me think of the Half-Life opening. Now this. The whole game, I broke many boxes. They had nothing in them. I just broke them because I like breaking things. And randomly, I decide to break this one in the final level, and guess what? It has healing items. What do you mean? The whole game? Nothing. And then, on the final level, you drop this? As we go up the elevator, let me warn you, we are about to fight the final boss. You might wonder what it could be. Mecha Stalin? Well, actually, the real final boss of the game is this horrible arena. 2 builders shoot at you from the sides. In the meantime, a squad of welders flies at your face. It's so hard because not only do the builders just melt you, but the flying welders are really good at soaking up the bullets that are meant for the builders. Not only that, but as soon as you kill one builder, another one comes down and joins the fray. This took me so long to beat. As a final cherry on top, after killing everyone, I see an electrician literally spawn in front of me. Lovely. Now, time for the end of the game.
Мир и прогресс народом всей земли. В этом не
Трудящиеся ликуют и торжествуют свою победу. Победу рабочего класса, победу труда, товарищи.
The final battle is actually just you listening to the bad guy, I guess. Having a chat with a deformed man reminded me a lot of the Fallout 1 ending.
I have to admit that you have thought hard. Now you know what happened to this world. You know what my great transformation has led to. A new personality has appeared. A new man. One which is independent, self-sufficient, one capable of protecting himself. My days are numbered, and you are the heir of it all, and you must rule everything. The future of the great transformation and the fate of this world are in your hands. Stay in this world, and lead new people forward. But you are free to choose a different path. You can go back to the past and stop the birth of the great transformation. This will be your choice, and your decision.
So yeah, because we are so amazing, we must decide the future of this world. I do love that somehow. Time travel is just possible, zero explanation. That is just something Soviets had, I guess. Anyways, me, a smart man who never wants to play a minute more of this game, decides to save before making the final decision, so I can view both endings. Problem is, there isn't another ending. The game just straight up lies to you about having a choice. You get what you get and you will like it.
Говорит Москва.
Темный период культа. Поехали! Личности Сталин.
He's coming out again.
Все прогрессивное человечество торжественно величайший праздник.
You are ahead of us.
Важно, чтобы мы не заговорили перед...
Нам еще надо хорошенько поработать и попотеть, чтобы вас догнать.
And that's it. That's the game. Now that we have seen all the cutscenes and had our final talk, let me try and make sense of it. The first and last cutscenes are the only ones showing us the playable character. We are a soldier who just lives his ordinary life, not doing anything to get out of line. But sadly, his inaction also doesn't grant him recognition. As we see when he doesn't get neither a medal nor a shake of the Stalin's hand, he is just an invisible cog in the machine. A cog that gets run over by a car and spends some time in a coma. Could be a decade for all we know. When he wakes up, the world around him has changed. Humanity has been drained from the people around him. The following cutscenes share a motive: color red and flight. They signal that we are following the main mastermind behind everything that happened to the world. We first see Redman as a child, as he encounters a dog that wants to escape his prison. So much that he hurts himself in order to leave. He fails. I think at least this cutscene is the only one I truly don't understand. It could be to show you how Redman's actions, in the end, will not result in any real change, any real escape for the people trapped in the system. It will only end in spilled blood. Or the simplest idea is that it's meant to just establish that we are following a new person, starting from their early life, show progression till modern day, with some sprinkled shock elements of a puppy hitting itself until it bleeds. After footage of some industrialization, we once again meet our child, this time in school. Once again, another cutscene that is vague, but I believe this cutscene shows us that the achievements of our red man are not something seen by others. He can achieve his goals, but his actions are clouded by the darkness of the night, not seen by others. In the next cutscene, we see our red man kill a fly, a life form below him, someone who doesn't matter like he does. This disregard for life lets him understand something. It leads him to a breakthrough into fixing humans. In the next one, we see our man in red and adult now, designing the Star Tower. And then we see confirmation that to him, what he is doing is correct. Even though Stalin overlooks the streets, his eyes are everywhere, people are still vermin. They still act like trash. To the man in red, humans are not humans anymore. They are just cogs. They are drawings to be erased and corrected. Our man in red has fully lost his humanity. Next, we see the same award ceremony from the first cutscene, but this time through the eyes of the red man. He's just a cog, an organic machine, going through the motions. He uses this opportunity to show Stalin his research, and so the experiment is put in motion. Years pass. The experiment sweeps the nation like a new revolution, but the man in red has to pay a price. He has to become the machine that runs the experiment. He literally becomes a cog that runs everything. I'm not fully sure, but these scenes could be showing us the parade for the funeral of Stalin, and the people holding red signs that are symbolic to our red man could show that he is either revered by the people, as the people look at him as the replacement for Stalin, or that he's someone they hate. Honestly, not very clear. But then, we appear. A man that isn't like your typical Soviet man, not a cog in a machine, but an individual. Someone that apparently Man in Red has never seen, and our existence makes him rethink the plan for the organic machines. Ideally, we get to choose. Do we now stay and control the world, lead the new people as an example, become the new template, be a cog, or do we return back in time and do something, act on our individuality and stop being a cog, kill the Man in Red? Quite ironic that a choice that in the end is really all about whether or not you want to make a difference is taken away from us. We must destroy the system, and we can't let it continue. And of course, the ending montage implies that us killing Man in Red led to the fall of the Soviet Union? Actually, I think it fits quite well that in the end, we didn't get to choose. We just did what we were told. We may think we are individuals, but at the end of the day, we were cogs in the machine that the developers of this painful game created. Just another cog that must do what it dictates. In the end, we are empty. Well, can't say that was fun, but it's over. I hope you enjoy my misery. Hopefully, the next time we see each other, I will be talking about a more enjoyable game. Till next time, I've been Evening, and this has been You Are Empty.